Boom, what's up, y'all? Welcome to the Kenny Parker Show. We do this every Tuesday and Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What's up to all the regulars that check in every week? This is show number 118, I believe, which means about 116 of them or so are in a row. We are on a roll, y'all. Spook Realm 4Q, you are first in the building. Let me make this a little bit bigger so I can see. PSA, if you ain't a jive turkey, then purchase the true story. My brother's name is Kenny. The link is in the description below. And please hit the like button. It helps the algorithm so more like-minded people can check out the show, the family. And last but not least, big up to the Rewind crew who's going to check this out later on. And speaking of Rewind crew, I'm going to give a special shout out to Anyway. What's up? Okay. Henry Sedillo, what's good? Um, Spook Realm says update. My son won first in weapons and second in combat. Congratulations. Am I assuming that your son is in the armed forces or some kind of martial arts? I don't know which, but congratulations. That is dope. Gregory Nettis, what's good? Gregory Nettis says, what's the movie? The Shining versus Misery. You know, I've never seen The Shining in its entirety. Stanley Kubrick. Butchering. I butcher more names than anybody on social media. But the legendary director, I've never seen The Shining, so I'm gonna go with Misery. Misery was a demented film. Kathy Bates was crazy in that movie, and she got progressively more crazy. I didn't see The Shining, so I'm gonna go with Misery. DJ Q Storm, what's up? Never had official peace in my Just Ice voice. Big up to Just Ice. My Wolf, what up? Nev Ed Official, what up? G Doyle, half of the Doyle brothers are in the building. Says, let's go Blue Jays. Uh, guess who, MFs? Whoa, haven't seen that name in a while. What's going on? Where you been? MK Ultra. One, two, three. The crew is called BDP. And back in the day, when we used to have pagers, our code was 123, started by me. So if you see a number and you see 123, it was somebody from BDP texting, paging each other. Um, Terrence Hill, my brother, what's good? Um, Rasul Hassan. Um, Rasul says, what up, KP? No overtime tonight. That's good, so I can really enjoy the show on YouTube. Excellent. I'm always down to get your money, but at the same time, welcome to more Kenny Parker Show. um, Gregory Netta says, I enjoy Vanilla Ice Ice Baby more than Queen Under Pressure. Wow. I don't even know what to make of that comment, except to say we respect all opinions here on this show. I see guys talking about comedians. Uh, Spook Rump says Carlin is a legend. Absolutely. I'm a huge fan of Bill Burr these days. I'm a huge fan of Bill Burr as well. Many years ago, back about 15 years ago or so, um, he had this contest where he used to do every Monday morning. He used to do every Monday. He used to do podcast. He might still do it. I haven't listened in a while, but he used to have revenge stories, and you could send him your revenge story, and if he thought it was good, he would read it out. And I sent in a revenge story, which not only did he read on his podcast, but he said it's the best revenge story ever out of all the revenge stories he ever got sent to him. And the same story is in my book. The link is in description below. But I sent in my revenge story and he loved it. So that gave me some inspiration also to tell my story. Because I was like, yo, if Bill Burr thinks that this revenge story is a great story, wait till he hears the whole story. So big up to Bill Burr, whom I've never met, but he is right at the top of my favorite comedians. Um, Kenneth Smith, what's up? David Alston, what up? Dan Marasuti. Dan Marasuti, have you we're at show 118. You might be in the 100s. Dan Marasuti. You could be in the 100s, man. I appreciate anybody who's been down with this channel. We have just passed 3 years of my YouTube channel, and I would say what 2.5 years have been live. For those that's been down with the live since the very early days, so if you're in the 100s plus category, I really, really, really appreciate you. Um, yes. Kenneth Smith says, Chappelle got it for me now. Bill Burr is wild and funny as hell. Big up to Dave Chappelle. Always the times that I've seen him, he was super cool. Um, got a chance to kick it with him years ago before he was huge, huge. He was just big, huge. Before I got last time I saw Dave Chappelle, this is before the Chappelle show. MMA Crossfire, what up? Terrell McMillan, what's good? Ilroy, come down, Kenny Parker. Yes. Um, MMA says, Kenny, you're almost at 30,000 followers. Who are you going to do to mark that occasion? I don't even know. Maybe I should do something special. I don't even know. That's a good question. Benny Doyle, what's up? The other half of the Doyle brothers are in the building. Mixed Monster Menno. I don't recognize that name. What's going on? Emma Brown, what's up? J Woo 72. All the regulars are in the building. Patrick Sargent says, I wait patiently for DJ Kenny Parker's day to shine. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Cutie Pie, what's going on? DJ KP in the best chat ever. Much love. Thank you so much. Um, Emma Brown says, you should try to get Master T. I don't know who Master T is. Do I know Master T? Um, Emma Brown says he's a great guy and a good interview. I don't know who he is. Can you refresh me on who he is? Let's see. Kitty Pie says Shining was the first scary movie ever seen. I was 7. What's the first scary movie I ever saw? Oh, that's a good question. Because back in the day, I happened to see a couple movies I wasn't supposed to see. Um, the first That's a good question. I'd have to think about that because we scary movies were like rated R back then, so kids couldn't really see it. So the first scary movie I ever saw, excuse me, I probably had to be either a teenager or something on a rerun. Probably like like a Dracula or something like that, or the Wolfman. One of those old 1940s Wolfman and Dracula, Bela Lugosi, and Lon Chaney Jr. I'm saying some real old names now. Those old Wolfman movies and Frankenstein and The Bride of Frankenstein. I used to love any Wolfman old movie. Even Abbott and Costello meets the Wolfman was dope to me. I'm really dating myself right now. What's the first scary movie I saw in the movies? Probably Friday the 13th, Part 3. J Wu 72 says, Yo, Kenny, can you call your brother live on the air? I don't know if I would call him live on the air like that. I mean, I probably could. If he's not busy, he probably would pick up, but I don't know if I would do that. Crusher Blackwell, Kenny, who's the old lady? Wow, you called the old lady that played the mother in the video Love's Gonna Get You. The old lady is Miss Melody and Harmony's mother. Um, Miss Melody, who was married to KRS at the time, and her sister is Harmony, and the lady was her mother, and the girl who played my sister in the movie, our sister in the video, was Harmony. So that would be Harmony, and Miss Melody's mother is the lady. That's a good. No one's ever asked me that. I think I saw her in like 2000 or something like that. Rest in peace to Miss Melody. Patrick Sargent, KRS One new book is out next month. Yeah. Derek Mallory, Minneapolis. What up? Minneapolis. Um, do you remember three times dope? What kind of question is that, Rico Smith? Of course. Big up to EST, the Nicholas one. JT, what up? Answer Candy Media, what's up? Crusher Blackwell, have you ever thought about taking on acting roles aside from music? Never crossed my mind. I have never acted ever in my life except for, and it's funny, I was years ago, I was having a conversation with Common, the great MC, and we were laughing. I was talking to him about his acting transition, and I was saying to him that I never acted a day in my life. And he was like, Yes, you did. You acted in Love's Gonna Get You video. And we both started dying laughing. And I was like, Technically, yeah, I did act in Love's Gonna Get You video. So Common was correct on that. That is the my only acting debut. Yeah, I never acted in a video. I've never acted, never thought about it. Reggie Johnson, all those comedians who took that Saudi blood money are sellouts to me. I don't even know what that's all about, but um, there goes that word sellout again. Patrick Y has entered the building. It's kind of hot in here. I might cut this air on. It's been so humid in the New York area. Rid, what's up? RIDD. Hey KP, did Stevie ever say anything about y'all using part-time suckers? Not to my knowledge, although he listens to BDP and him and KRS are pretty cool. I don't know if he mentioned it to KRS, but he never, and Chris never said anything about it. but he did listen to BDP, so who knows? And this is interesting too. Paul Mooney wrote for Richard Pryor. Comedians having ghostwriters, does that count? Just curious. And we're talking about grace. Richard Pryor is generally considered the GOAT of comedy, but he had ghostwriters. Explicit says, I was watching part 1 and 2. You had audio issues. You came a long way, Kenny. Thank you so much. Now, as you see, I have a wireless microphone connected to my chest. I've used at least 4 different microphones, but this one seems to be the one that's doing the job. But yeah, audio issues, all kind, trying to get it right, man. R.I.P. Patrice O'Neal. See people shouting out Andrew Dice Clay. Andrew Dice Clay was wild. He was Benny Doyle said, Jason Wall, you weren't lying. Dice Clay had a run. He had one of the greatest runs. This dude was selling out Madison Square Garden. He was only doing arenas. With all his nursery rhymes, he's probably the nastiest dude ever to do it. I remember, though, I think he took it too far one time. I remember he was talking about Barbara Streisand. And I believe he said some real wild stuff about Barbara Streisand. And I remember watching the tape, and I believe either she was there. I know for her husband, and what's his name, Brolin? She had her husband or boyfriend was there. They panned to his face, and he had a stone face. Can't remember if Streisand was there, but he was definitely there. I remember he said some wild stuff about Barbara Streisand. That I remember I rewatched it. It came on again. It might have been HBO or something. And when I saw it again, that piece was cut out. That whole section was took out. So whatever I remember what he was saying about Barbra Streisand, it was wild, but he might have took it too far. But Dice Clay was huge. Danelle the Don Freeman, yo, KP, I've never missed a single episode, yo. That is fantastic, Danelle. And I've butchered your name probably 100 times, but I'm very appreciative of you have not missed a single episode. That is dope. That is dope. Carl Schreiner, I know I'm in the 100 Club. Different name, Floetry One right here. Oh, you got a different name on here? What are you, incognito? Um, Carl Schreiner. Yeah, you're probably in the 100 Club. Explicit says, I see many regulars. This truly is a family. Yes. Reggie Johnson says, imagine if BDP did a show in Johannesburg back in '89. I remember there was a boycott. I remember the artists were boycotting South Africa because of apartheid. That was a whole movement. I don't know if it's a movement now to boycott certain countries, but I remember back then that was a big thing. Jack Swagger, what's up? Kendall Smith said, I've been here since the beginning. Was Rewind crew, but when I switched to live, I didn't talk for some time, and then I started joining the chat. Dope, dope, dope. Let's see. Gregory Nellis says, if Shabba Ranks came to the Kenny Parker show, we would need subtitles to understand him. Absolutely, we would. Jeff Rocker says, I used to see Chappelle in the Village in Washington Square Park back in the 90s. Me too. Before he was on the come up, and I thought he was some homeless dude telling jokes. Me too. That's how far back I saw him. I have a whole story with that. Maybe I'll tell it another time. I think I've mentioned this before. Plata no DC. KP, what are some of your favorite break beats? Beat breaks. Break beats. I love Synthetic Substitution. It's probably my favorite. Maybe because one of my favorite records of all time is Ego Tripping by the Ultramagnetic MCs. I believe they were the first ones to crack that beat open. Shout out to Paul C. Shout out to Said G. That's a favorite. Freedom, Get Up and Dance is a favorite. Those are probably like my top two. Um, that would be considered like a break beat, like people used to cut up. Oh, what's the word? What's the one? This is not really a break beat, but I do believe it. What was it? The Boogie Boys? Was it Chuck Chill Out on them? Two, three, break. Two, and it goes. "Bididididin, woo, bididididin, woo, 2, 3, break." I forgot. Is it the Boogie Boys or the B Boys? The B Boys. And I think that Chuck Chill Out was part of that crew. Not really a break, but one of my favorites. Uh, and do we consider Hobo Scratch, Malcolm McLaren? Do we consider that a break? That could be my number one. Um, let's see. I see people talking about The Exorcist. I remember being young enough to remember when The Exorcist came out, and people was acting like it was the end of the world. They were protesting outside the movie theater. I was a little kid, and I was hearing that it was blasphemy. It was on the news, and protesting and people trying to ban it only makes it bigger. Um, but I remember as a little kid, The Exorcist being a big deal, like it was the end of the world. Explicit says, "Who knows when scary movies truly happen? Psycho wasn't the first." I guess Psycho would be considered a slasher movie, right? Like the first slasher movie. But like I said, we had Dracula and the Wolfman and Frankenstein. Um, there were Ghosts, the Invisible Man. Remember the original Invisible Man? All of those came out in like the 40s and 50s. They were a bunch of like witchcraft movies. Yeah. Question Blackwell. This is a question I would have to ask Chris. How did the collaboration between REM and KRS come about for Radio Song? I'm not sure, but I think Michael Stipe from REM came to a BDP show, and he liked what Chris was talking about, and they made a friendship, which led to a song. But I don't know how that happened. I wasn't there. I've seen Michael Stipe at a BDP show in like '91, just chilling. Uh, let's see. Def Rocker says the Exorcist movie was and still is spooky. That's one of those movies that stands up to the test of time. It's been over 50 years since that movie came out. And if you put that movie, and I'm going to put The Omen up there too. If you take those movies, those original scary movies from the 70s, and there's been thousands of movies that's come out, and they still, to this day, are well done and terrifying. And even like some of the effects still look creepy, man. Um, let's see. Some people said Master T was a legend in Canada. Spook Realm. This is the first scary movie I can remember was the original The Fly. I felt so bad for the fly guy when he was begging for help because the spider was about to eat him. Remember that? That was so creepy. Oh my goodness gracious. The Fly. Remember when he first took the she finally got him to take the hood off his head and he had the big fly head? And then yeah, and the guy didn't believe the story. The detective didn't believe the story till he was sitting in the park. I'm giving away the whole ending. And he saw the fly stuck in the spider web with the human head going, "Help me." You remember that? That was some of the creepiest. Yo, Spook Realm, you killed it with that right there. Because I remember watching that as a kid and now I'm shook right now. The Fly. That was from the 50s, I believe. That was crazy. Crazy. But they also had a lot of UFO movies too back then. That's more science fiction. I'm going to say the UFO movies are science fiction. Um, The Fly was crazy. I saw the second Fly um, with Goldblum. That was cool, but that first Fly was the one to me. 1968, Night of the Living Dead. That was crazy too. I saw Dawn. Is it Day of the Dead or Dawn of the Dead? I think I saw Day of the Dead in the movies. Night of the Living Dead was crazy scary too. Oh, what's the one? The aliens are taking over. Invasion of the Body Snatchers. That was scary to me too when I was a kid. Yeah. KP, when is the audiobook coming out? I need that. It's coming, man. It's coming. I'm close. I'm closer than close to finishing it. Shamil Live, have you ever suggested to your brother to get his own home studio? He's had multiple, not really big studios, but like pre-production studios where you could make beats and even record. I mean, he had even like I had like a 4-track back in like 89, 90, which I eventually stole from him. Um, but he always had a setup where he can make beats and do a quick voiceover just to get a feel. Then you take it to the studio and really work on it. Yeah, always have home equipment. Um, let's see. Got people having some real. David also says, Kenny, has the government shutdown affect New York yet? I don't know. I haven't seen the effect yet, but um, I'm not sure. I'm a little behind too. MMA says Bill Burr took the money. I don't know. What is this going? Bill Burr took some Saudi money? Are we banning Saudi right now? I don't even know if that was a thing. See, Philly She, this is where we get into the woods. Paul Mooney was a writing partner, not a ghostwriter. So how come when other people and rappers have writing partners, it's not the same thing? See, these are really in the woods. These in the weeds right now, Philly Sheed, because I don't remember Paul Mooney ever getting credit back in the day. I mean, we know this now, but I don't remember like Paul Mooney getting shout outs back in the day. Nobody knew who Paul Mooney was writing if you weren't in the know. To me, David Alston, Kenny, why Chris never had dancers in his videos? That wasn't our thing. We were possibly the first or near the first to have a hype man, a person who, excuse me, a person who is not in the group per se, but does background vocals on the stage live. Of course, there's Flavor Flav, the king goat of all hype men. But Will was a hype man back in like 89 when everybody had dancers. Chris was like, we're gonna do this. Well, you're gonna come on stage and you're gonna back me up and kind of like do overdubs of my vocals. That was brand new in 89. And I'm sure somebody's gonna pull out somebody who had a hype man. I'd like to see who was not an MC on the record, was just a hype man. BDP, I'm gonna say if we weren't the first, we were right there. We were right there. Everybody had dancers. The question is why Chris never had a dancer. I don't think the message he was trying to get across, I don't think he wanted dancers in it. Markeith Bankroll, what up? Patrick Y, Ghost Riders are necessary. Wow, that's a real controversial statement there, Patrick Y. I couldn't see Kane doing picking boogers. Plus, I think Beers gave Kane a concept and Kane took it from there. Sure. But I could give somebody a concept and they could take it from there too. I'm sure that's what a whole bunch of people have done. I don't know. I'm going to say Ghost Riders have helped shape hip hop as we know it behind the scenes. Same as Ghost producers. But like I said, the whole industry is an illusion. There's only really a handful of people that's really dope, y'all. That's really creative, that can really create original, legendary music and rhymes and music out of the thin air. There's not that many of them. It's less than you think it is. Hey, Phil, thank you so much. Just read your book. Great book. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you picking up the book. Thank you. Thank you. Um, this is some clarity. Samuel Gervais, what up? I believe Paul Mooney wrote for Richard Pryor on the Richard Pryor show, but I don't think he contributed to Pryor's stand-up comedy specials. Do we know that? That would make sense. Rosmel says Dice Clay was one of the first comedians to be canceled. I didn't know he was canceled, but he was off the hook, man. I could see why if he got canceled, um, absolutely I could see why. Because did he get banned from Saturday Night Live for cursing? Like he was wild. But he was mad funny though. Samuel Gervais says, I think MTV banned Dice Clay for life. Yeah, I think everywhere he went, he got banned. Markeith says Dave Chappelle is under fire for criticizing free speech. I haven't seen that. I would like to know what he says. CMC's techniques in class. Thank you so much. After a while, I can't even say as many thank yous as I need to say for your contributions to the channel. Thank you. Burning question. Since Comfort Zone, LOL, an NAACP Image Award Gold album in 88, 91, 3 times platinum, 94 platinum again, and 11 Grammy nods. Why is Vanessa Williams not respected more for her music? Um, why is Vanessa Williams not respected more for her music? I think it's the era that she came out in was brutal, just brutal. Because she has Dreamin', which I loved. Save the Best for Last, which I love. Those are great ballads. Um, but she came out at a time with Whitney, Anita Baker, Sade, Mariah, they were monster new artists, female artists with her that I think, even though I think Save the Best for Last went to number one in the country. A ballad going number one is very rare. But I think that hurt the time that she came out in will hurts her status at that time. Plus, her Miss America controversy was so huge, worldwide news, and so big that even with all her hits and her great acting career too, still, if you think of Vanessa Williams right now, you might think of her controversy with Miss America. Um, yeah, I think that's the answer to the question. Her controversy with Miss America and her coming out at a time when it was just ridiculous, man. It was really, really. I mean, for the fact that she had hits, it was really hard. Let me scroll down a little bit because I'm falling behind. Um, UFO and Nautilus for me. UFO and Nautilus are two. You know, I can mention those. I love UFO. I love Nautilus too. Those are great breaks too. UFO takes too long to start. I don't like the UFO takes too long to get going for me. Once it gets going, I love it. Um, yeah, those could easily be in my mix. Yeah, the Boogie Boys made Fly Girl. That's not what I was talking about. It was the B Boys. Break. Yeah, B Fred. Hobo Scratch was a hip hop instrumental. It's more like a because that was really like the remix of Buffalo Girls almost. Big up to Trevor Horn, the great producer behind Art of Noise and Malcolm McLaren, who doesn't get mentioned at all. Um, yeah, it was an instrumental. It wasn't really a break, but I love that, man. JT says KP, yes, Chuck Chill Out and Donald D were part of the B-Boys. I know Donald D. Big up Donald D. I haven't seen him in decades. Was part of the B-Boys. Two, three, Break was one of the greatest instrumental cut-ups ever. Breakdancing to that is a must. Yeah, man. Did. Woo! Um CC Riders, the scary movies bit off of the Twilight Zone. Um, sort of. I could see that, but scary movies are way more gory though. I could see that. Yo, Tybo 2020 says Halloween 1 and 2, yeah, but the thing, Carrie was crazy too. Carrie was crazy too. They're all gonna laugh at you. The Thing is one of the scariest, most intense movies. I'm gonna consider that a sci-fi thriller, though. I consider The Thing sci-fi more than scary, which I'm separating the two. But The Thing, I've probably seen that 5 or 6 times. That is one of the scariest movies ever, in my opinion. That's a good call, Tybo. MK Ultra says, in my opinion, Texas Chainsaw Massacre was the first real modern slasher film, and it was horrifying. Yeah. What year did that come out? My Eagle Wolf says Christopher Lee was the best to play Dracula. My Jack Palance too. Christopher Lee was dope. I liked Bela Lugosi. But Christopher Lee was a little more serious to me. Bela Lugosi seemed like he was over the top. Did BDP ever perform with Rage Against the Machine? Not in my time. Patrick, why? KP, there have been a few game changers in hip hop. We can name a few. We've had this conversation on this channel. Yes, only a few. Do you consider Luke Campbell, not Too Loud Crew, a game changer? Mm, not really. First of all, Miami bass to me is regional. I don't think Miami bass changed hip hop. I think Miami bass was dope for Miami. So I think even though they were going platinum, I think that sound was a regional sound. Um, Luke had some hits, but I don't know if he's a game changer. I wouldn't put him in game changer because the game changing records to me changed artists and records changed the course of hip hop history. Everybody, it changed the sound and the way people made records. I don't think Luke changed the game, maybe for Miami, but that's regional. I look at Miami bass like I look at Go Go to me. DJ Green Hornet, what up? Um, Typo says, I like the 80s to fly better. I don't know. It was different, but the effect the original fly had on me was, I liked it better. I liked the original better. That was scary, man. Because now the second fly, I was ready for the fly. I wasn't ready for the first fly. You had no idea what it was about. And of course I saw it on TV. I wasn't born when it came out. But there was a lot of those B movie scary movies like Attack of the 50-Foot Woman. Y'all remember that? And like Creature from the Black Lagoon. I used to watch all of those. Me and my brother used to be glued to the TV for all of those and any monster movie, any Godzilla, Mothra, Rodan. Me and my brother was glued. Um, we used to watch all of that, man. I miss those days, man. When everything was so exciting, you had no idea what was going to happen next. Marquise says the fly was in car wash. He passed away? Oh man, when he sung I Want to Get Next to You to that girl in the diner, that was dope. I didn't know he passed away. Oh wow. KB Play, thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. It's much appreciated as usual. Tales from the Hood had both horror and social commentary. I like Tales from the Hood. Um, I would consider that more a cult classic when that came out in the 90s. I like Tales from the Hood. I've probably seen that like 3 or 4 times. Yeah, that definitely had a lot of social commentary. Oh, I didn't know this. Jason Wall says Night of the Living Dead broke a lot of barriers. Maybe the first movie where a black man slaps a white woman. Did Fred Brown slap Raquel Welch or something, or had a sex scene with her or something that was crazy? John Walker said Trilogy of Terror. That dog, yo. Y'all bringing up some crazy old stuff. Trilogy of Terror was crazy. With that doll, and the first one where she was like a witch and like tricked that dude and made him, and he thought he had her as a slave, but really she had him. I used to watch all of that stuff. Y'all killing me right now, man. Y'all killing me. Y'all killing me right now. Wow, you brought up Trilogy of Terror. Rod Justice says, I'm sitting here working. I almost forgot about the show. Come on, Rod Justice. You a regular too. Yo, you just killed me with that, man. Wow. Bring back my childhood memories. And all of this stuff came on regular TV. I mean, you couldn't rent them or anything. These movies were mad old. Movies from the 40s and 50s we were still watching in the 70s and 80s, and they were still dope. Philly She says comedy is a different discipline. Actually, if you look at the writing credits for some of the first two seasons of Sanford and Son, you'll see Pryor and Mooney credited as writers. I didn't know that, but that's dope. Writing for Red Fox and them, I guess. It seems like every genre of entertainment has different rules than hip hop. Hip hop's rules are different um, than anything else. And that ghostwriting is a very touchy subject. Reggie Johnson, KP, my 2-year-old grandson is over my shoulder trying to watch you. What's up, grandson? Hey, that's funny. I saw Grandmaster Caz. My brother was doing I think like a seminar at 1520 Cedric Avenue. This had to be about 2, 3 years ago. 2 years ago? 2 years ago. They were doing like a little class right in the room where Cool Herc did that first party, and the guest speaker was Kaz. And I asked Kaz, I was sitting there as a student, and I asked Kaz about ghostwriting. I figured he would know as well as anybody about ghostwriting. And I asked him two questions. I said, A, when did, what, back in the day, before, when were you, let me get right. Back in the early days of rap, was it assumed that the person who was rapping wrote their rhymes? And he said yes. Back in the day, it was assumed that everybody who was on the mic was saying their own rhymes. So I asked him, when did it change? And he said, as soon as records started, soon as rap came on wax, that's when everything changed. And then writers came into the play. And he would know, since he was the first person to have his rhymes stolen in what I consider one of the greatest crimes in the history of music. Y'all all know the Rapper's Delight story. But yeah, I asked Kaz about ghostwriting. He was like, dudes had to write their rhymes in the 70s. Then it changed. Um, all right, I'm gonna do a Benny Doyle scroll down real quick because I'm a little behind. Not a lot, but enough where I'm just gonna jump in right here. Def Rocker says Vanessa Williams was in the Playboy mag and that messed her up. I don't know, because I think she recovered. She recovered from that. That was in like 80. I remember that was in like 84. I think she's Miss America of 84 or 83, and that magazine came out in 84. It definitely cost her the crown. I remember the press conference when she stepped down as Miss America. But then she resurfaced with music and movies. I remember she did the big movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Um, she did a couple of things, and like we said, she had a big music career. So it took like a few years, but she was canceled. She was an early cancel. In '84, she got canceled, but she's so incredibly talented. See, we didn't know how talented she was. We just thought she was a beautiful woman who won Miss America. But she's also a super talented singer and actress, and that saved her. Broadway too, I think. It messed her up for a minute. Dartmouth, what makes Sex and Violence such a classic in your opinion, in you's opinion? I did a whole breakdown on the Sex and Violence album on this channel. I did it about 2 years ago. You get my full opinion of that album, the making of it, the aftermath, everything. Please check that out. For those that didn't check it out, please check it out. Um, is it a classic? Is the question. To some people it is, to some people it isn't. That's a very controversial album. Please watch the breakdown that I did of it, and you'll see why I say that. The album for me is bittersweet. Uh, let's see. Parsons says, I think Vanessa Williams is more of an actress that sang on the side. Well, I look at her more of a singer who acted on the side. She had a #1 hit. She had a few hits, but she had a #1 Billboard #1 smash. I think that's a little more than singing on the side. And Dreaming was dope. She had a dance record too. Was it Right Stuff? That was kind of popular, I remember. I remember when I was in college, I think I told this before, we played again, it was a doubleheader, and we played, I forgot who we played against. I think it was Iona. And the second game was St. John's versus Georgetown. And it was in Jersey at what used to be the Meadowlands, the Brendan Byrne Arena. I don't know what they call it now, but then it was called the Meadowlands Arena. And I remember after we played, we sat and watched the first half of St. John's versus Georgetown. I remember Mark Jackson was on that team. And somebody said, look, and Vanessa Williams was in the crowd. I think she had a relative that played on one of those teams, so she was there. And I remember our whole team was watching Vanessa Williams instead of watching the game. The St. John's and Georgetown was like here, but everybody was just trying to get a glimpse of Vanessa Williams. So I actually saw her in person. I think this was like 86. Um, let's see. Hmm. Kenneth Stewart said Paul Mooney was a longtime writing partner for Pryor. They worked together for decades. Mooney contributed significantly to some of Pryor's most acclaimed work, including his live albums and TV projects. So he wrote a lot of Richard Pryor's stuff. Um, does that make you look at Richard Pryor any differently? It's a question. Do you look at Richard Pryor any differently knowing that he had help in his classics? JT says Nautilus is my favorite breakbeat by far. Such an epic listen. Yes. And the great interview that I saw Knife and Wonder do with Bob James, he couldn't believe Bob James was saying how he could not, it's for many years, he could not understand A, what hip hop heard in certain sections of his compositions. He said he would make these long compositions with all kind of things going on and all kind of musicianship, and you hip hop guys would pick this little piece and say that that's the best piece, and he couldn't understand it basically. And he also said that some of the songs that were sampled by him, the original music that they did in the studio was so peaceful and made with such love and had such a cool vibe behind it. And then when you hear it sampled and you hear how the rappers, how aggressive they were over these pieces of music that was made in such a peaceful, loving way, he said it kind of messed him up. He said it took him years to understand sampling and why rappers would sample his stuff. Um, It's crazy though. Let's see. Yo, Kenny, did you know David Bowie called out MTV in '83 for not playing black music? Yes, I did. And David Bowie was known to collaborate with black artists. Um, Luther Vandross was one of his background singers and arrangers. Um, he worked with Nile Rodgers. Yeah, he if you respect music, if you're a real musician and you respect music, especially back in the day, you don't really understand how certain sections of the population's music was being purposely denied when it was the best. Like if you know I'm good, but there are guys who are great and they're not getting heard just because someone decided they don't want that person's music being played. As a musician, that would bother you. That's like being a ball player and you know you're good, but there's guys like LeBron or Jordan or Kobe that can't be in the NBA just because their skin color, and you know that these guys are great. Could you imagine that? But big up to David Bowie. I did know that, by the way. MTV was on some real BS when it first came out. B. Fred said the thing was sci-fi horror. Yeah, um it's almost a blend. That movie was so crazy to me. The thing is, I could watch that every day. Def Rocker says the original Thing movie from 1951. I have to check that. I don't remember if I saw that. There was a lot of sci-fi in the 50s. Giant ants, giant bugs. Like after the nuclear test, there was all these giant insects and rats. Remember what was that movie with the giant rats? It wasn't Ben. There was a movie with Food of the Gods. Y'all remember that? When the rats ate some drunk something and they were like the size of cars. The movies were so crazy. And them, the ants that were like the size of a plane. We used to watch all of that. I wish this right now, I wish my brother was here because he would really be reminiscing. We used to watch all of those movies, man. And any one of them come on, we would sit in front of the TV glued. Um, this is one of the great questions so far I've seen on this channel, and the reason why there is a channel. When KRS was always saying written, produced, directed, and mixed, was it really by him? That's a great question. And I was not there for all of it, but I would say, for the most part, yes. I would say written, of course, all of it was written, all of it was directed by him. Produced, I'd say he produced a lot, and then I would say people had a hand in it, like D Nice did stuff. DJ Doc, who needs to be on this channel as soon as I decide to make the phone call. What up, DJ Doc, who agreed to come on the channel like 2 years ago, and I've been bullshitting. Um, he has a wealth of knowledge about, especially about early BDP. I believe KRS produced, and if you, because my experience is even if I produced a song with Chris, he directed it. First of all, you had to play him the music and he had to like it and agree to put it on. He had to say yay or nay. I got mostly nay. I got way more nays than yays. But and then once he liked it, he would craft it, even though it's your beat, he would make sure it goes with what he wants to, how he wants the album to sound. So written, directed, and mixed. Mixed meaning you have an engineer who does his thing on the boards, but sometimes, especially with a KRS, I've done this too. You tell the engineer what you want to hear. So he'll get levels, but you will say, bring up the highs a little bit, make the kick bump harder, lower the vocals, make the bass a little beefier. And that's their job to execute what you tell them. So although someone might have turned the knobs, I've seen Chris turn knobs too, but although like a DJ Doc or D Square, I'm gonna shout out Naughty Cato, some of the dope engineers we worked with. Chris mixed the songs how he wanted them. So the answer to your question is, I'm gonna say overall, written, produced, directed, and mixed was really by him. Yes, and the only one that's a little bit collaborative, I would say more, is the produced part. That's a great question. That's why I have this channel because I like to get stuff like that out. Um, Spook Realm 4Q says, I love what Abbott and Costello did with our old school monsters. Yes, man. No one mentioned, I don't know if Abbott and Costello even remembered now, but those guys were hilarious. Do you remember Abbott and Costello? Because they also had beef, because they had a beef with the Wolfman and Dracula and Frankenstein. That was one movie, which was crazy. And then the Invisible Man. Remember the Invisible Man was helping them box? They had the Invisible Man too. They was beefing with. Um, the shout out Abbott and Costello, man. Brooklyn Geek says Luke is important because he literally fought Congress. Yeah, I'm not saying he's not important. Luke is incredibly important. I'm just not saying he's a game changer. And he fought Congress because they fought him. He actually fought back. They tried to ban his songs because of explicit lyrics, and he went to court and won the freedom of speech. And he came out with "Banned in the USA." Remember that? He was important. I just don't consider him a game changer musically. Yes, Luis Ramirez. We Criminal Minded was a game changer. Absolutely, it was. Marquise, hip hop didn't invent anything. Hip hop reinvented everything. I've heard Grandmaster Caz say that, and that is the truth. Hip hop reinvented everything. Um, let's see. Oh, the Blob. The Blob was, don't laugh. Know what, Luis Perez? Don't laugh because I see the Blob like five. Yo, the Blob, I'm gonna say that's science fiction. The Blob was crazy. I like both Blobs. I like the original Blob, and there was one in like, I don't know, the 80s or early 90s. That one was crazy too. The Blob, that's something they should bring back. I think a Blob movie right now would be crazy. Like, all the stupid stuff that they remake, bring back the Blob. The Blob was dope, but you could really make it dope now because they were trying to fight the Blob with the weapons they had in the 50s. You could really make it real dope now. I forgot all about the Blob. y'all, you dudes, y'all some old heads, man. American Werewolf from London was unexpectedly scary. Yeah, it got scary at the end because I thought it was like funny. It was like a comedy for a second, right? Then all of a sudden it got real serious. Explicit Cujo versus Jaws. I'm going Jaws all day. The Cujo was scary too. Edward Johnson, yo KP, first time joining the live. Wow. Welcome to the family. Please hit the like button for those that's just checking in. Please hit that like button so we can get people like Edward Johnson in the chat. Do you remember the song No Sellout by Keith LeBlanc? No, I do not. Or if I do, I'd have to hear it again. Let's see. I see Freddy Krueger. Freddy Krueger was crazy. Tim Storm says, don't forget about the Kung Fu flicks on Saturdays. Of course not. My favorite being the Five Deadly Venoms. Um, Jason Heffler says, yo, those Charles Bronson vigilante Death Wish movies was more scary to me, depicting the real violence of the Bronx in the 70s and early 80s. I don't think I've ever seen one of those Charles Bronson Death Wish movies. I don't think I've ever seen one. And they were big. And I think that wasn't that based on like a real person? Gregory Netter says Jaws is a classic. It made people scared to swim. That's right. The beaches were lost mad money after Jaws came out. Jack Swagger says Din Dada, George Kranz. I don't know if that's a breakbeat, but that record is ridiculous. That's guaranteed to get the party rocking. Philly She says, I think Luther Campbell did change the game, maybe not just with bass music, but with imagery and explicit lyricism in successful records. I don't know if he changed. See, I don't know if like before Luke, there was no nasty records or they weren't big. And then when Luke came out, from that point on, nasty records were popular. I mean, when did Two Live Crew really blow? What, 88, 89? See, they were talking nasty records, but I don't know if you could say see, to me, I don't know if that's enough for me to say I don't see enough of a cause and effect. I don't see like before and after with Luke Two Live Crew. For me, they were very successful with their nasty records. But Too Short, see, I think Too Short might get even. Too Short was selling 1 million records, talking real nasty too. He might even be as influential. I don't know. Maybe not for me. I loved Fright Night, by the way, Ed representing. I saw Fright Night in the movies, and I've seen that like 10 times. Loved Fright Night. Jack Swagger says Trilogy of Terror was the first one where the black guy didn't die in the first 5 minutes. Trilogy of Terror. All right, I'm way behind. I'm going to jump down. I'm going to jump all the way down to right. Damn. This is the worst part of doing this show to me is skipping over all the comments. I'm gonna jump in right here. Let's see. Ronan Holland says, all respect to David Bowie for that. Absolutely. Zeph Rocker says, if you listen closely, you can hear Nautilus and Let the Rhythm Hit Him. If you listen closely, you can hear Nautilus in a whole bunch of records. And Bob James said he lost millions of dollars because of people that sampled him before the sampling laws took effect. He didn't even know rap was sampling him. Um, This is random, Chris Morale. I'm scared to listen to the new Mobb Deep because Prodigy's voice changed and I couldn't take it after Hell on Earth. We grew up, but that was ridiculous. I have not listened to the new Mobb Deep album yet. Um, this is gonna be really interesting. Explicit says Giant Rats. Was this a former movie? No. Giant Rats was Food of the Gods. Just type it on, you get a chance. Type in Food of the Gods. That movie was mad scary. Rats the size of cars swarming on people. Lindell Hardy Sr. says, "Do you remember the Black Exorcist?" No, but I remember Blackula and Scream, Blackula, Scream. Um, I remember those. I don't remember the Black Exorcist. Um, Alien, which is in my top movies of all time, Aliens, the second one, was a sci-fi horror movie. Well, it was very intense. I would consider it sci-fi. I would consider it more sci-fi than horror, but yeah, the first one with one alien. Okay, I could say the second one was straight science fiction. That's one of my favorite movies of all time, like my top five. I've probably seen Aliens like 60 or 70 times, no joke. At least 60, easily 60. Bits and pieces, I could be approaching 100. That's crazy. Um, let's see. Y'all gonna make me go because now after we get off, I'm gonna go on YouTube or something and look up some of my old um monster stuff. Especially, my favorite television show of all time is called Koshak the Night Stalker, by the way. Talking about horror. That's my favorite, my number one favorite show ever. Because when I was a kid, I used to think it was real. I used to think all that stuff. I used to think Carl Koshak was somewhere really fighting these monsters. And I thought it was crazy. Carl Kolchak, The Night Stalker, is my favorite television show of all time. CMC says Poltergeist, hands down. I have not seen all of Poltergeist. That's one of the few. I did not see all of Poltergeist. I saw some of it. I did not see Amityville Horror, the Amityville Horror. You know what was crazy? The Entity was crazy. The Entity was crazy. I did not see Poltergeist, but the Entity, yo, um, Explicit says, someone make sure Kenny doesn't look at the clock. Let's trick him so he thinks it's 8. We might do OT today. I might have to cut the AC on if we do OT because it's getting a little warm in my spot. I'm glad it's warm in October, though. I'm not mad. Benny Dawes says, Toronto up 4-1 on the Yankees right now. Yo, man. This Yankee team, the manager is definitely gone after this. What a disappointment. What a disappointment. Kenneth Swift said, wait, KP, you're saying Doc agreed 2 years ago? Yes. I'm going to need you to start keeping a pen and pad by you during live. DJ Doc needs a call this week. It's about time for another guest. First of all, I've been working on other guests, and you're right. But Doc agreed. I ran into DJ Doc 2 years ago, 2 summers ago, and I first was doing a channel. I don't even know if I had guests yet. And I saw him and I asked him, would he come on? And he said, absolutely. And I've been meaning to do it and there's 2 people I really want to get on. I haven't had a chance to hit back yet. And that is Breakbeat Lou and DJ Doc. But yes, 2 years ago, Doc said he was getting on. That was an epic fail on my part. Chris Bronson says Monster Week on Channel 7 back in the day, 4:30. Do I remember Monster Week? Maybe. Bill Shapiro says, "Beware the Blob, the sequel." Yo, I'm telling you right now, a Blob movie right now. Let's go. If we're just gonna do remakes and they're looking for something to bring back, let's go. That's something people aren't even thinking about. Like the new kids wouldn't even, it would be brand new to them. But the blueprint is all there. Media lands on Earth. Some guy picks up the rock and the thing gets on his hand and it starts growing. Crazy, crazy. And then it just gets so big. Um, MK Ultra says, KP, bring back the Blob classic. I'm telling y'all. I'm telling y'all. Gregory Ness is fired in the sky. You mean fire in the sky? Is that the one with the abduction? The alien abduction? Those are kind of scary too. Um, Explicit. Anyone see The Vanishing? Is that the one with Jeff Bridges took that girl? I believe. What was that girl? The big star. What was her name? The same girl that was in Speed. Took that girl from the gas station. Is that what you're talking about? Because I never liked Jeff Bridges after that. I was over with him after that movie. You know, there's certain actors. I was talking to my friend the other day about this. There are certain actors who I will never like ever. In real life, I don't like them because of a role they played in a movie. Like if I saw them in real life, I'd be like, yo, don't even speak to me because of something they did in a movie that pissed me off so bad I'll never speak to them in real life. I know everybody got somebody like that. Oh man. Yeah, Betty Doyle. Hello, Cindy. Scream was fire. Scream was fire. And for the modern era, Scream might be one of the dopest that brought back the slasher flick. Scream was dope. I ain't gonna lie. And it had a little twist ending too. Ronan says they still have the theater where the original Blob was filmed, the theater where the Blob came out of. Word? When the Blob came, when they all was sitting there, was that a bowling alley or was that a movie theater when the Blob just came out? I didn't know that. I'm gonna watch the Blob this week. Do you remember Amazon Women on the Moon? No, I didn't see that. Yeah, Sandra Bullock and Kiefer, yeah, The Vanishing, Jeff Bridges, and Kiefer could not get over the fact that she was gone. Yo, that movie messed me up, man. I will never speak to Jeff Bridges ever again. Not that I ever saw him in life or know him, but if I ever do, I don't trust him because of that. Because of The Vanishing. The Vanishing was ill. For those that I don't even know if that was a big hit, but The Vanishing, please, if you get a chance, The Vanishing, y'all gotta watch that. That movie really messed me up, man. Deuce Murdoch, do you remember Christine? Everybody remembers. Christine was another. Isn't that Stephen King? The car that talks, that was dope. Dope, dope. I consider From Dusk Till Dawn like a action flick. Like it wasn't scary to me, it was more actiony to me. Sammy Gervais says Abbott and Costello's Who's on First Skit is still funny to me. Yeah, it's classic. There's been different versions of that people have done, but yeah, that was classic. Abbott might be the original straight man. Bippy says half naked women dancing in videos was popular after Luke. he definitely had a different type of woman on in his videos, especially that video "Move Something" to Live Crew. Looked like he just emptied out the strip club and just said go. But it changed the game. Maybe. I don't know. Heartthrob said Too Short was out in '86. Yeah. Talking that same bitch. Spook Realm says, oh no, that's what I was looking for, not this one. This one. Henry C. Dilla says, don't forget Blowfly rapping. Yeah, but he was more cult classic. Samuel's Rays, KP, have you seen The Serpent and the Rainbow? Is that the one about the voodoo? If that's the one about the voodoo, I think I saw that one too. Yeah, Rudy Ray Moore had all. Rudy Ray Moore was like a black Andrew Dice Clay almost, with all the rhymes and stuff. But once again, these were like cult figures. Like Luke took it to platinum status. Rosamel said Bernard Getz tried to emulate Charles Bronson from Death Wish. He sure did. That was a big story in the '80s. I'm not going to mention it on YouTube, but I thought Bernard Getz was wrong. I thought it started out as self-defense, but then he took it to a whole other level, and he won too. He beat the charges. Penny Doyle says, I'm not telling stories out of school, but G. Dory was scared watching Sixth Sense. G. Doyle, Benny Doyle just exposed you. Success was dope, though. Success was dope. That's another dope plot twist at the end. I wasn't ready for the end of that movie. I was like, oh, word. Um, that is funny. Green Lion Entertainment, peace. You late. Divine Existence says, peace, KP. Salem's Lot was creepy when it first aired. I didn't see Salem's Lot. The big bowl vampire and child vampires flying up to people's window. I didn't see Salem's Lot. Heard about it, but I didn't see it. Markeith Bankroll says, remembering Dana Plato, Kimberly from Different Strokes. Yeah, that whole cast, those kids, all of the kids on that show had a lot of trouble, man. Child actors in general is a tough, tough, tough thing in Hollywood. It almost always goes wrong. Big Bat says, first chubby checker, now Luke. Damn, Kenny. You know what? I don't want no smoke with Luke either. I saw Luke going in on Drake last year, and I was like, damn, Drake don't want. I don't want Luke. I think Luke was great, but I think Luke was great for Miami. I think Doodoo Brown was a huge record. Doodoo Brown, I've said this on the show. Doodoo Brown used to shut the tunnel down for like 3 years. But there wasn't like a million Doodoo Browns after that. It was that song. Doodoo Brown was the song. It wasn't like there was a million Two Live Crews popped up everywhere. Everybody sounded like Markeith and them. It wasn't that. It was just they were dope for them. There wasn't a bunch of Lukes. Heartthrob says, KP, do you use any of the new Akai MPCs? No, I have never used the MPC, and that new one looks crazy. I really wish I knew who to reach out to at Akai. Maybe they can let me get one so I can try to work on it because I've been using the SV1200 for a long time. Um, that'd be a great sponsorship on this channel. Um, Anybody know who's doing promotions at Akai? I would love to premiere that MPC and work on it, learn how to use it and make some beats. That would be real, real, real dope. Ronan Hollins, peace, brother. Thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. Really appreciate it. Oh, once again, wow, thank you, sir. Said, yes, that movie theater for the Blob is in Phoenixville, PA. There's also a great black-owned record vinyl store around the corner from it called Forever Changes. I can safely say I've never been to Phoenixville, PA. Um, I've been hearing some things about PA. I've been really researching these sundown towns. Not trying to get controversial on this channel, but in the past couple of weeks, I've been really researching sundown towns. For those that know what that is, and they're still going strong in 2025. And somebody said there's one in PA. I couldn't believe it. Is that Phoenixville close to that, Ronan? I love the Blob, man. Yeah, as y'all can tell, my movie might come out and flop, but Raekwon, Mob Deep with Raekwon touring soon. That would be real dope. That would be dope. I have not had, last time I saw, when was the last time I saw Mob Deep perform live? Yo, last time I saw Mob Deep perform live might have been when like Shook Ones was out. More I think about it, I might not have seen Mob Deep perform live since Shook Ones was their single. When's the last time I saw Raekwon? Well, I saw Wu-Tang Clan at Rock the Bells a few years back. I actually played some beats for Raekwon in what year was that? Maybe like '09, maybe 2010. He didn't pick any, but I was trying to get on one of his albums. MK Ultra says Fire in the Sky was a dope alien abduction story based on a true event. Yeah, the Walton guy. I saw that. Master Lee says New Mob Deep is really good. Gotta check that out. I didn't see Rosemary's Baby. I consider the first two Omens to be crazy. The Omen was crazy. The first two I thought were really dope. Yeah, the Entity, I mentioned that. I thought the Entity was scary as hell. Mike Rock says, we talking about horror flicks? Yeah, somehow we went down the horror flicks rabbit hole, Mike. Um, we're just talking about, because last week we were talking about what was the first real slasher movie, and we decided it was Halloween, but then we're going back even further into the horror now because Psycho was I don't know if that was really considered a slasher movie. That was more like a psychological thriller. I don't know what we call that. Um, Jack Swagger says KP needs to do a horror movie reviews wearing an MJ Thriller jacket and a BDP hat. I got a BDP medallion, like one of the ones De La Soul used to wear. Actually, it's right over there, so it's a little too far for me to reach it. I'm gonna rock it next time I'm on the air. I got it in 1990. It's 35 years old. I'm gonna rock it. Spook Realm says the entity was insane. My mother was scared for weeks. Yeah, that movie was off the hook. Bug says KP, I was a fan of Kolchak the Night Stalker as well, and the two movies. Yep, all that. I still got the box set, all that. Riz says, live a little, KP. Why? What happened? Damn, 6-1 is the score right now. The Yankees are done. Wow. Yeah, Rosmel said the entity was based on a true story. I did see that. Yep. Was based on a true story. And when they say based on a true story, that is so vague. That is so vague. Oh, it's 9:30. We are approaching OT. We are in OT right now. I'm gonna go a little longer, y'all. Mike Rocks 25. Nothing beats the Chiller Theater on Channel 11 back in the day. Yeah, that hand used to come up, Chiller. Ooh, I used to put the letters down. We was with all that, man. All of that. Great Bear says Yanks are done. Go Knicks, and Boone is not getting fired. Let's make a prediction right now that Boone is out. Someone is going to have to pay the price for the Yankees underachieving. Carl Schreiner said, what's the entity about? Oh, wow. I'm not going to tell you. Just watch it. Just watch it. Crazy. Master Lee, the Blob movie need that right now. Yeah, Blob. I'm telling y'all, I'm trying to tell y'all, if somebody in Hollywood is watching this, get your coins together, make the Blob, especially with today's special effects. Because the Blob looked crazy back in the 50s. Can you imagine now? Cutie Pie says, remember Flatliners? I never saw Flatliners. Um, but I remember the movie. I never had a chance to see it. Explicit says, Freddie or Candyman? Freddie all day. Um, I'm seeing a lot of this Go Blue Jays on here. I'm a New Yorker, man. This is not good. Patrick Wright, KP, remember Creature Feature? I think it was on Channel 5. Yep. Oh, yeah, the hitch. The hitcher is messed up. The hitcher. Yo, the hitcher was scary, man. The hitcher. Yo. Kevin Smith says, KP, you definitely acted. You acted like you was about to beat that dude's ass. Strongly stated, yo, quiet and say, yes, no, I wasn't acting. Um, I was talking about on the set of 13 and Good, me and some of the guys are on the side making too much noise. And one of the assistant, is it called a PA or the assistant AD? Is it PA or AD? I'm not sure which. One of the guys who help organize was telling us to be quiet. And he told us once, he told us twice, and then like the third time, he was like, yo, he was like forceful, like, yo, shut up. And for some reason, I took offense to that, even though I was 100% wrong. I took offense to that, and it led to a situation at the video shoot where I was wrong. You ever look back at some things in life and you just cringe? Like, what was I thinking, man? Dartmouth says, Enemy Mine with Luke Gossett Jr. I saw that. I didn't feel like that was scary. Mike P, Scientific Mystic. I hope I got it right. Scientific. Scream was tough in retrospect. Yeah, we mentioned Scream. Um, we did mention Scream. Scream was dope. Not even in retrospect, Scream was dope. Benny Doyle says, not to mention Drew Barrymore, huge BDP fan, bites early in the Scream franchise. Yeah, she did, man. So she took a big L early, a classic scene. Um, Shout out to Drew Barrymore. I wonder if she remembers us. I would be heartbroken if Drew Barrymore was like, I don't know what you're talking about. KB Play, thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. Yo, off the subject, I heard Aretha Franklin and Rose is Still a Road. I just realized the drums were BDP Superho. That album has been sampled a lot. Yes. I felt like what's the one, Lauryn Hill? Funny how money changed the situation. Lost Ones. I felt like that was Superho too. I'd have to listen to a Rose is Still a Rose. I didn't even realize Superho, but a lot of Criminal Minded album has been sampled. And that's one of the ways that you know that an album musically stands the test of time is when it's been resampled over and over and used in other people's hits years later and it still sounds good. Um, yeah, that Criminal Minded album, the production at that time was really dope. Shout out to Said G. Shout out to Scott LaRock. They did a fantastic job. I'd have to go back and listen to that though. Lauryn Hill wrote a Rose is Still a Rose too, I believe. Um, Shout out to L Boogie. She'd be a great person to have on the show. Not that I have her number or anything, but Def Rocker says They Live was dope. Yeah, They Live was actually prophetic. I think They Live is going to turn out to be true. They Live was dope. I didn't find They Live to be scary though. I thought it was more funny than scary, but it was dope. They Live was dope. We're in overtime right now, y'all. This is the Kenny Parker Show. We do this every Tuesday and Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Big up to the Rewind crew who's going to check this out later on. I'm going to stay on a little while longer. I love talking about these old movies. This is way off subject. We just went down a rabbit hole, y'all. I'm so glad y'all hanging out with me on this craziness. But I that was my whole childhood. Joey Joe says most of these horror sci-fi movies classics were so corny that remaking them it would be comedies instead of sci-fi thrillers. Well, it depends on how you interpret it. Some of them would, a lot of them were B movies. B movies mean low budget and you can't take them too serious, but you did. You know, I wouldn't say they were corny. So some things may be corny in retrospect, but at the time they were dope. But you could take any one of those movies, not just the movie, but if you take the premise and give it a new twist, because a classic story is a classic story. And a lot of the stuff that's coming out now is so bad that no one wants to see it. And there are classic older stories that you can build on and bring them into 2025 and to be for a brand new audience. So something that may seem corny, but I think if you remade some of them, it could still be scary. Like The Entity to me right now would be terrifying. Yeah, CMC, the Body Snatchers was, there was a few, there's a couple of them, but I like the old one with the pods and Divine Existence says, I'm sure many of those 40s and 50s horror flicks were flops when they first released in the theaters, but what made them hood famous once they aired on TV decades later. Yeah, well, like I said, they were B movies. A lot of them were made for like the drive-ins. I have never been to a drive-in movie. I'm too young. But a lot of that stuff was for drive-in movies, and they didn't have a big budget, so some of the effects, like some of the costumes, you could clearly see that's not like a alien or a lizard. That's like a man in a suit, you know. But you get into it. You know what I mean? Like you just get into it for a couple hours. But some of the premises, what I'm saying, some of the premises of the stories are good. And I don't know if they were a flop because they didn't cost that much money. They Live, yep, 1988. It depends. If you only spent a couple $1 million and then you make eight. If you spend two and make eight, that's great. It's a low budget movie, but it's great. Spook Realm says, for me, it was Mark Harmon. I hated that dude because of a role he did. Yeah, man. Everybody got somebody that they do not like. Emma Brown says, unfortunately, I got to share my birthday with Putin and Joy Behar. Wow, you put Putin and Joy Behar in the same breath. Wow. Can I get a happy birthday, Kenny? Yes, you can, Emma Brown. Happy birthday from the Kenny Parker Show and all of the family here. Um, every year that you make it around is great. I think every day that you wake up, we take for granted waking up in the morning. I'm happy that you woke up in the morning. Happy birthday, and I'm glad that you shared some of it with us. Putin and Joy Behar. What a combination. Bill Shapiro says The Blob 1988, the remake. That was cool too. I like both of those. Rosmel says Dust to Dawn was a comedy. Yeah, like to me, that was a comedy. The Howling. Did I see The Howling? I can't remember if I saw The Howling. Last House on the Left, I didn't see that. Remember Elvira? She made millions with that. I saw her the other day. I was watching something like Elvira's retired, and she's just like talking about her whole story. I think Elvis put her up to be Elvira. I think she was like a comedian, or she was trying to break into business, and she came up with Elvira, or Elvis told her she needs some kind of gimmick or something like that. Elvis made Elvira or gave her the tip. Divine Existence KP on the modern thriller tip. What did you think of Get Out? Loved it, loved it, loved it. That's a thriller. Like I said, it wasn't a monster. There wasn't really a monster in it, but that was a great. Loved that. Loved it. Did Luke give birth to the video vixen? Maybe, but did he even have the same girls in the videos? I think the first video vixen was really like Darlene, right? From Ice-T's crew. Big up Darlene, a sweetheart. Absolute sweetheart. Um, Big up to the whole Ice-T family. But yeah, to me, Darlene was the first woman I can remember being in like a lot of videos that was like, even though she was in the same artist video, but to me, she was the first vixen. Now, I could be wrong. Um, but somewhere around 89. I don't know if Luke was the first. Maybe. All right, y'all, I'm gonna wind it down. Um, Trying to get some last comments off here before we get out of here. We're in overtime right now. Sixth Sense hit different now. Sixth Sense was dope. I didn't see Rosemary's Baby. Let me scroll all the way down to the bottom and then I'm gonna jump off, y'all. All the way. I just skipped. Goodness. I just skipped 70 comments. Um, American Werewolf in Russia. I don't remember that. This is my number one favorite movie of all time. Like my number one favorite movie of all time is Silence of the Lambs. I think I've mentioned it on this channel multiple times. That's a psychological thriller, but that was just ridiculous. And movies like that very rarely get awards, but that swept one of the few movies that swept all of the awards in the Oscars. CMC says Darlene was super bad back then. Yes, she was. And super nice. Super nice. Super nice. Rockdown Plus. When is your brother appearing? I don't know. Um, I didn't see Amityville Horror. Oh, Switzer said it was a joking. I was joking, Kenny. Someone said Paris, so I said Werewolf in Russia. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't remember Werewolf in Russia. Happy birthday, Emma Brown. I think I'm gonna leave it on that note. Happy birthday, Emma Brown, who is now a regular on the channel, and that's dope. Do you oh, Never Ending Story? I didn't see that. Remember the movie Phantasm? Was that with that little spinning ball that was spinning in people's heads? I didn't see it, but I think I kind of remember that. Yeah. I've watched too many movies in my life. All right, I'm getting off. we have went we have went so far down. I'm shaking the whole thing. We have went so far down a rabbit hole. We didn't even really talk about hip hop or anything. We just strictly talk about movies. But this is dope. I love it. Oh, Gregory. See, you know what, Gregory Nettis? I think you just be trying to say any old thing now. I really believe that you're trying to say any old thing. If you think Child's Play is better than Silence of the Lambs, you are wilding. Wilding. All right, I'm out of here. I'm gonna look up some of these old movies just because I haven't seen them in so long, just to get a some nostalgia. This is the Kenny Parker Show, y'all. We should be back on. First of all, I'm gonna call DJ Doc first thing in the morning. I'm gonna make it my business to get in touch with DJ Doc. If the number he gave me is still even good, I don't even deserve to have his number. But I'm gonna call him and hopefully he can come on the channel because he worked with everybody. He can give a lot of insight on a lot of stuff. He is one of the most legendary engineers that people don't even know. Um, Uh, and I'm going to do that, and hopefully I can have an answer for y'all by Friday. So God willing, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will be here. Happy birthday, Emma Brown. I hope you have a fantastic 2 more hours to your birthday. Um, I'm going to jump out of here right now. I'll catch you guys on Friday. Peace.